Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, Larry Phillips. Three names, three completely different NASCAR journeys. But all three are now officially headed to the Hall of Fame. And honestly, this class of 2027 might end up being one of the most emotional and debated classes we've seen in years. Because here's the thing, one of these guys was a no-brainer first ballot lock. One of them finally broke through after years of waiting. And the other? If you truly understand NASCAR history beyond just Sundays on Fox and NBC, you know this man's numbers are almost impossible to comprehend. And I'm just going to say it straight. This announcement says a lot about what NASCAR values right now. Winning, longevity, influence, personality, the modern era versus the roots of short track racing, it's all wrapped into this one Hall of Fame class. Stick with me, because once you really break down these votes, there's actually way more drama here than people realize. And hey, real quick, if you are a true NASCAR fan like me, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to the channel. NASCAR Nation News is just getting started. We are pushing for our next subscriber milestone, and it's all about real talk from fans who live this sport every week. All right, let's get into it. So NASCAR officially announced that Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, and Larry Phillips have been elected into the NASCAR Hall of Fame class of 2027. And let's start with the obvious headline here. Kevin Harvick absolutely dominated this vote. 92%. 92. That is not just, yeah, he deserves it. That is a statement from the voting panel that Kevin Harvick was one of the defining drivers of his generation. And honestly, how could you argue otherwise? 60 Cup Series wins, a Cup championship in 2014, Daytona 500 champion, multiple Southern 500 wins, multiple Coca-Cola 600 wins, 3 Brickyard 400 victories. But numbers alone don't even tell the full story with Harvick. Because real NASCAR fans remember the pressure this guy walked into back in 2001. Dale Earnhardt passes away at Daytona, and suddenly this young driver is thrown into the most impossible situation imaginable, taking over the number 2 three-team environment at Richard Childress Racing. And somehow, only a few races later, Harvick wins at Atlanta in one of the most emotional finishes NASCAR has ever seen. That moment alone cemented him forever in NASCAR history. But then he spent the next 2 decades proving he wasn't just the guy after Dale. He became Kevin Harvick. And honestly, I think time has actually made people appreciate him even more. Because Harvick adapted through completely different NASCAR eras. High horsepower, low horsepower, old chase format, elimination playoffs, different cars, different tire compounds, different aero packages. Didn't matter. The guy won everywhere. Short tracks, intermediate tracks, super speedways, road courses. And let's be real for a second. There are fans who still believe Harvick should have more than one championship. That's how elite he was during the Stewart-Haas racing peak years. In some seasons, he looked untouchable, only for the playoff format to completely reset everything. So when he gets 92% of the vote in his first year of eligibility, that's not surprising at all. That's NASCAR basically saying, yeah, this guy was one of the pillars of the modern era. Now Jeff Burton is where the conversation gets really interesting. Because Burton getting in during his 6th year on the ballot tells you something important. This wasn't automatic, and I know there are going to be fans split on this one. Some people are going to look at 21 Cup wins and say, Hall of Fame? Really? But if you actually watched NASCAR through the late 90s and 2000s, you understand what Jeff Burton meant to this sport. This dude was one of the smartest, most respected drivers in the garage, period. He was known as the mayor for a reason. Drivers trusted him, NASCAR trusted him, broadcasters trusted him, and his impact went way beyond trophies. Now don't get me wrong, the wins matter too. 21 Cup wins is nothing to laugh at. 27 wins in what's now the Xfinity Series. He was a major force for Roush Racing during one of the most competitive eras NASCAR ever had. But I honestly think what pushed Burton over the top was everything after his driving career. As a broadcaster with NBC, he became one of the clearest voices explaining the sport to fans. Behind the scenes, he's been deeply involved with the Drivers' Council and helping NASCAR navigate some really difficult modern issues. So this feels like a complete body of work Hall of Fame selection. Not just the driver, the ambassador. And honestly, I think that matters. Because NASCAR right now desperately needs respected voices that can bridge old school fans and the modern era. Burton has quietly been one of those people for years. Now let's talk about the name that casual fans may not fully understand, Larry Phillips. And this is where hardcore NASCAR history fans are smiling right now. Because Larry Phillips was basically a short track legend operating on an almost mythical level. Seriously, listen to these numbers again. Over an 11-year stretch, he won 220 of 289 NASCAR sanctioned races. That is absurd. That almost sounds fake. 5 NASCAR Weekly Series national championships, 13 track championships across 3 states. Crew chief James Ince once estimated Phillips may have won 1,000 races, maybe even 2,000. Think about that. This is the kind of racer that represents the absolute backbone of NASCAR. The local short tracks, the weekly grind, racing constantly, winning constantly. And honestly, I love that NASCAR continues recognizing drivers like this through the Pioneer Ballot. Because NASCAR history is not just built on cup stars, it's built on short track warriors who kept this sport alive at its roots. Now another huge announcement that kind of flew under the radar was Lisa France Kennedy receiving the Landmark Award. And regardless of where fans stand on NASCAR leadership over the years, her impact on the business side of the sport is undeniable. Phoenix Raceway redevelopment, Daytona Rising, Kansas Speedway expansion, those projects changed the physical future of NASCAR. And whether fans realize it or not, modern NASCAR survival has depended heavily on those types of investments. Now here's another fascinating detail nobody's talking enough about. Greg Biffle once again misses out. And I think that's going to frustrate a lot of fans. Because if you compare resumes, there are definitely people who believe Biffle should already be in the Hall. Truck Series dominance, Xfinity championships, Cup wins, incredible versatility. So now the debate starts all over again, heading into next year's voting. And honestly, NASCAR Hall of Fame discussions are becoming a lot like debates over the playoffs themselves. Fans never fully agree on what matters most. Peak dominance, longevity, cultural impact, championships, popularity, and that's why these conversations get so heated every single year. But at the end of the day, Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, and Larry Phillips are officially part of NASCAR immortality now. 3 completely different careers, 3 different paths. One Hall of Fame class that honestly tells the story of NASCAR itself. From local short tracks to the golden era of stock car racing, all the way into the modern television and playoff era we're living in right now. But now I want to hear from you. Did NASCAR get the Hall of Fame class of 2027 right? Was Jeff Burton deserving over names like Greg Biffle or Neil Bonnet? And where does Kevin Harvick rank among the greatest drivers of the modern era? Drop your thoughts down in the comments because this one is definitely going to divide the fan base. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like this video, subscribe to NASCAR Nation News, and turn on notifications so you never miss another big NASCAR story.